Hi Anti-Society, welcome back to the Anti-Social Planet. Today we are celebrating JiU's birthday, of course, and I did a poll over on Patreon for what song I should listen to because I usually do that, and it was super close. I don't think I've ever had a Patreon poll for what song I should do for the birthdays be this close, but I decided to do Event Horizon because it's the most recent one on that poll that I did, so I just thought that that was probably the most accurate song to do to see where JiU is at her like current level of like being a vocalist and a performer and stuff like that, as opposed to the other ones that are quite a few years back now. But I will get to them. Obviously, we're going to get to lots of the other stuff that they've done, both like together and solo covers that they've done. But we're going to start with this one. I of course don't know this song. I mean, I could have done the Pink Sweat song because I do know that because I really like Pink Sweat's music, but I've decided to go with the one that I don't know because we just need to stick with the like pattern of me not knowing these songs, the originals. But of course, going to have a fun time listening to this anyway. I am sure JiU's voice is just so soft and angelic and she's adorable that I'm so excited to get to see more of her and focus in on her voice. So let's get into this reaction. There's a special clip for it, so I feel like I gotta like stretch out my smiling muscles because we're gonna be smiling so much during this. I don't know what to expect from this because again, I don't know the song, so I'm not sure what it's gonna be. Is it gonna be ballad? Is it gonna be sweet? I don't know. I'm kind of nervous. I like the guitar. Are we having like a flashback, like school days kind of thing? 생각이 많은 건 말이야. 당연히 해야 할 일이야. 나에겐 우리가 지금 1순위야. Ooh, okay. I wasn't expecting a bit of a lower range for her because you can hear like how much she softened out her voice. Obviously, JiU has like a bit of a breathier, softer voice anyway, but usually when you get into like kind of your lower range, you tend to soften up the sound a lot anyway because you are loosening your vocal cords. So the more that you loosen them to get that lower sound, the like more breathy and lighter it's gonna sound because you're not gonna get as much closure for it. So having that more like subdued sound to her voice, the production is interesting to me. I'm not gonna get too much into it because obviously that's like the original writing for it as opposed to like a Dreamcatcher song where I would kind of pull that apart, but it's a lot more minimal than I was expecting, which I think fits with JiU's voice, again being like on the softer side. I'm just like she's literally just walking and I'm like, oh, I like that little build up that she did, like not too much, but we kind of like built up and she had more closure, a bit more oomph to it when she was getting into that higher note too, but it was just like a little bit and then she pulled back, right? Like I don't know the lyrics to the song because again, I don't know the original and I don't have lyrics on this video and I didn't want to like go through like a whole lyric video and stuff like that. I don't know what the story is for the song, but I love that kind of like little build up and then pull back for it because it means that like when we get to like the chorus or like those more intense emotional moments, we haven't overstepped that, right? Like we haven't arrived too early at that like emotional breakthrough. It's just like a little bit, a little hint, a little tease of what that's gonna be like in the song. I'm assuming, I'm a prediction right now, sometimes my prediction are off, but my prediction right now is we're gonna get more of a moment that really like embraces a little bit more of the power that she has in her voice. I love it like up and kind of descending down. Ooh, that pullback with the head voice and the pullback with the production. Ooh, I like it. It's for this moment of waiting in the music, in the special clip too. Oh, see, like that where she like really like you can hear like the progression of her like getting more and more and more closure as she like builds up, getting into what I'm assuming the chorus is. But I love how we had this moment of like it pulling back while she's waiting, right? So we have all of this movement before with her, and then in the special clip when she's waiting, we get this moment of, you know, the pre-chorus happening here, which I like. Okay, I was like, I feel like I need to go back to that part where she like flipped up. I love all the power in her voice too. See, that's what I was like, we're gonna get a moment where she like really gets to show the power in her voice, and she had like a little bit of a cry almost leading into the chorus. Like, perfection. Love that jump up into her head voice. Oh, there's something like very nostalgic sounding about this. Like Event Horizon makes, obviously I know what that is in like a scientific kind of way. I don't really know what the interpretation of it is in the lyrical content, but it feels like that stopping time, right? The song sonically feels like you want to kind of stop time and like live in a single moment for a little while, like elongate a moment that you feel a lot of nostalgia for. And kind of seeing her almost in like a school uniform, I feel like kind of fits with that too, of having that nostalgia for maybe a simpler time, maybe a previous moment. Again, I don't know what this song means to JiU. Like, I don't know what time it came out. Maybe it was something that she grew up listening to, or it was something that was important when she was at an age when she was in school, or the song itself is kind of reflective on that. But it has a very like timeless, nostalgic kind of feeling to the production. And I really like some of the cadences of this kind of like more rapid delivery and then more elongated moments, notes of like stepping up into a note or stepping down into them. Like there's some great momentum to certain parts of the melodies, the vocal melodies, and then other moments where it's far more like drawn out and shows more of that like control of holding notes and breath support and stuff. I feel like this is a great show of like lots of different things that JiU can do that, you know, obviously when you get cover songs, it's a great opportunity to really like let someone's voice shine because you have like a whole 3 minutes of like just your voice, right? Which can be intimidating when you're used to singing in a group, but it's also a great way to just like show what your voice can do in a way that you can't when you're like maybe singing for a total of like 30 seconds in a song, maybe, right? So having a whole 3 minutes to show off what she's capable of doing. We've had like a lower range, we've had higher notes, we've had softer moments, we've had more power behind what she's doing. We've had wonderful little cries in her delivery, like at the end of phrases. We've had like that faster delivery and then the more like languid kind of delivery, like lots of little things in this that I love getting to see all the different dynamics of her voice in this song. I would be really scared of someone getting a close up on my hair, I'm just saying. Oh, the transition to like being grown up. It's like I was saying, it feels like nostalgic. I love that. I love getting to see her in more of a mature outfit, but also hearing her voice with like just the piano, like the minimal piano in the back, does something to my soul. No, go back. The big city too, compared to the small town. A little vibrato there at the note too. Like, I love the transition to her like being in a more mature look, but also the environment, right? Like the environment is different, big city compared to the smaller streets before. But another thing that I noticed is that her clothing, while it's still more of like a subdued color palette, it's lighter, right? Like she was in like the very dark colors at the beginning, with kind of like the younger version of herself. And then you have lighter colors when she's older. And I feel like that's very symbolic. Again, I don't know the story of the song, like the lyrics or like what it means to you and that kind of a thing. But I feel like it's very symbolic to say like when you're younger, especially in kind of that transitional age of like being a teenager where you're like not a child but you're not an adult, people want you to figure out what you're supposed to do with your life, right? Like what are you going to go to school for? What are you going to study? What is your career? What are you going to do with your life? But at the same time, they're telling you you're not responsible enough to do things, right? Like it's this weird phase of people being like, you should know exactly what you want to do with your life, but also you're not to be trusted to make your own decisions. It's a weird time and it can feel really heavy, especially since you're trying to figure out who you are while also like having answers to like all the questions of like, what do you want to do with your life and that kind of a thing. And so it can be this really heavy weighted time of trying to figure out a lot of things and transitioning and dealing with responsibilities, and also it can be a bit chaotic at that time, especially if you're going to be an idol and you're leaving a small town to like move to Seoul to do training. You're probably leaving your parents behind, your friends, everything that's familiar to you. You're probably going to a city where you do not know anyone, which I mean, I went to a city for the first time well, the first time of like living in a city. I came from a really, really small country town where I used to have to go into town to go to school because we didn't have one where I lived, and I had never lived anywhere else, and I knew lots of people because I'd always grown up there. And then I moved to Ottawa, which is the capital of Canada, and I moved there to go to university, and I knew like 3 people in the whole city, and I was just kind of adrift for a while. It was so scary, but also like necessary to kind of like get out of the bubble of who I was as like a teenager and as a child and like my hometown. It was honestly kind of liberating to be somewhere where no one knew me, no one had any expectation of me, and it's a very different, like I figured out who I was. So I feel like the lighter colors are kind of her getting comfortable with herself and figuring herself out. Like she's lighter now because she's been through all of these experiences and she's grown up, and she can kind of look back at her childhood, at being a teenager, and have a perspective on it that she didn't before, right? Like you need distance sometimes to understand things and why things worked out the way that they did. She also sounds beautiful. I feel like I just talked a lot about things that like aren't actually about the song, but like sometimes I just get excited about symbolism. There's not much other excuse I can put to that one. She's also walking the opposite direction of all the cars. I don't know if that's important, but... That's a pretty shot. She's also listening to music like the whole time, which I feel like is maybe symbolic of her getting into music and what music means to her. That was beautiful. Like, obviously I expected that going into this, but just beautiful sound to it. Her vocals, a huge range of what she can do, which I love, getting to hear all the different textures and tones and things to her voice and the different things that she can deliver, but also just like really sweet too. I feel like we got those moments of more like belting, powerful, emotional moments from her voice, but also like the sweet, soft kind of sound that she can have. And it wasn't like, again, it was emotive, but it wasn't like assertive like some other vocalists also within the group, but like in general, she has a emotive and empathy to her voice. I don't really know how to explain it, but there's been a few times where JiU starts singing and it just hits me, you know, like the emotion of what's happening hits me in a way that like other vocalists that have maybe a bit more power to their voice, it hits me from like a vocalist kind of standpoint, where I respect them as a vocalist, I respect them as like performers, and that they're able to get that kind of sound, and it kind of like overwhelms me, you know, I say like it shivers and stuff like that. But I feel like JiU has one of those voices where like it just, the emotion washes over me, and it almost like overwhelms me, because there's something about the way that she delivers it that just has this sincerity and this empathy to it that I just feel a lot when she's singing. I feel like I've saved a little bit from being emotional because I didn't know the lyrics. I feel like if I knew the lyrics, I would be like even more overwhelmed. I feel like even a little emotional just like talking about it. So we'll wrap this up. I really liked getting to focus in on JiU's voice for this one. I feel like I haven't really done that since I did her solo Cherry, which is like a very, very different feeling to it, right? I feel like I get like little snippets of her voice, obviously, throughout listening with the like Dreamcatcher as like a group, but again, it's a lot different to like have a whole 3 minutes to like focus in on her voice. And Cherry is like so upbeat and bubbly and fun and playful and that kind of a thing, that it's so very different from this one that is more on the ballad side, but it has like this nostalgia to it. And yeah, I just really liked getting to see like all the different things that she did with her voice in this one, and she sounded gorgeous. And I mean, she was literally just like walking around, and I was like, why are you so pretty though? Like it's like one of those things where like I'm too far down the rabbit hole that she could do like literally nothing, and I'd be like, this is the best way that I could spend any amount of my life. I will just sit here and I will just watch you do nothing for like as long as I feel like, because it'll calm me. But I hope that you enjoyed watching that along with me. You can click those plays to go into my previous reactions, or you can subscribe so you miss next time I post a Dreamcatcher reaction, including a fun compilation to celebrate her birthday. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!